This morning, we started by going down to Louisville, Kentucky, and we're going to do that again now for some comments from Lin Schussler-Williams. Lin, take it away.
Thank you so much, Steve. What a great job you're doing with being our DJ and helping us have memories from former summer blasts with our pictures and all the stuff. It's just going great. Oh my gosh, what a fantastic summer blast. Like, I could not have imagined before last night just how good a virtual summer blast could be. But we have really seen how this team, this organization is filled with talent and the ability to just bring it. This has been so awesome. I am just fired up. You can see behind me, my virtual background is the vision board that I made over lunch. It was so much fun and way faster and less messy than all that glue and magazines, right? So if you made a vision board, let's see, Laura's got her thumbs up. And I see Annette Zobar has a background, Dani Goedan has a background, Jane Lehman has a background. I can't see everybody at once. Here we go. I bet there's more. Lee Perry has a background. Those are just awesome vision boards, you all. And, you know, what a fantastic tool. Just so darn much fun sharing that with all of you that were on that. It was just, we learn together, we grow together. That's what we do. And, you know, I had just said in the chat a few minutes ago when we were looking at the memories, and I said, you know, I miss dancing together at breaks. And then the music started, and I looked, and like, I can't wait to be in person with Dani Goedan because she's an awesome dancer. And so I'm inspired. It's going to be fun when we do it in person together, but it's fun right now. This is just so amazing. And Teresa Coyne this morning, you know, one thing she didn't say that I will never forget that has inspired me to drink warmer water is, do you want to be a grape or do you want to be a raisin? I'm like, I want to be a grape. The older I get, the more I want to be a grape. So, you know, just the way we get better at this together, the way we come together and get better and better and better, it is just so inspiring and so wonderful. And, you know, we'll wrap up this weekend on Saturday is the official end, but Sunday morning, we're going to continue what we had, as this will be our 4th year of having a Success Partners Sacred Service on Sunday morning. It's designed to be an interfaith spiritual experience. So we want everybody to come away feeling like we came together and we just kind of got dipped in the pool of sacred. Like, that's what we're going for here. And we may not always speak your language. That's okay. But we've designed this hopefully so that we're using universal languages and we're saying things in a way so that even if we don't say it exactly the way you would say it in your faith background, you'll be easily ready to translate and just be open to sharing a spiritual experience with your Success Partners family. And so that's our goal for Sunday morning. I wanted to just take a minute to really express that and invite you to spend a little time with us on Sunday morning as we come together and just really hold each other in our hearts as we go back out from this awesome experience. And so I am super fired up because I get to introduce the next 2 speakers. And I know that you are going to love this next speaker. Why? Because I just recently got to hear her talk about this topic, and she's amazing. But I knew that already. Michelle Seifert is one of those people who I know came into my life for a reason. She and I both showed up at a networking event for the alumni of the U of L Business School. And we didn't know each other. Neither one of us knew another person there. And it was in a retail store. And so everybody's milling around, walking around, you know, there's hors d'oeuvres, there's wine, whatever. And somehow, perfectly timed, divine timing, Michelle Seifert and I end up standing next to each other looking at a display, and we just started talking. We spent the rest of the evening walking around together, and here we are. And that was not more than a year ago, I don't think. And absolutely, she is one of the people I cherish in this world. She is brilliant. She has done things with money I didn't know were possible. She's paid off the same house twice. That's a story. She just moved from Louisville, Kentucky to South Carolina. And when she did so, she, had just sold a house, bought a house, and didn't have to think about whether or not she could replace the car she had that she'd been driving for 10 years. She just did it. And she is so powerful in her approach to life, her approach to mindset, and her relationship with money. I love learning at the feet of Michelle Seifert, and I know you will too. And so without further ado, I am going to introduce to you our next speaker, the amazing Michelle Seifert.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I love being introduced by Lynn, and I love the introductions that we get to hear of everyone. So thank you so much. And I am so thrilled to be here with you today and to share what I do from the inside out when it comes to money. And I wanted to take a moment to talk to you today about the personality of you that comes through with your money. And you may not have thought of it this way, but hopefully you might see things just a little differently. So, we've been talking all day yesterday and today, and we're talking about things come from the inside out. If you really want to make a change, it starts from within, because when it comes from within, that guides you internally, it drives you, it pulls you, it pushes you, it is your safety net, it encompasses you. And with money, you can do the very same thing, whether it's you, it's your family, if you're in a relationship with yourself or someone else. But here's the thing, in a relationship, you have influence at best. You can't control the situation. And it starts with you. So I want to share some things with you about the personality of your money. And let's get this going. All right. Let me start this. All right. So we spend most of our time doing things, and we're all motivated to do things, but we really don't stop to think about and pay attention to what motivates us. But I can tell you that we are motivated, and when we do start to pay attention, it's when things don't go well. A lot of times we're left wondering, well, what the heck has happened? What went wrong? A lot of times we may be involved in a situation and it's like, well, that's not what I meant. That's not what I intended to say. I didn't really expect things to come out that way, but they did. They went wrong, or something happens to you and it went completely wrong, or somebody's in this event and they are having a phenomenal time seeing the same thing, and somebody else may be like, I don't know, that didn't make sense. Why is that? It's because we are all driven to do things differently. And, in sales, Legal Shield is about sales, and it's about marketing. The old adage in sales, some people sell to live, other people live to sell. Same activity, but the approach is different. And that happens with our money. So we know that change happens from the inside out. And there's motivation and drive that happens from the inside out. And while we are all different, we are all unique. And therefore, I say that we are uniquely different in who we are. But there are some common factors that connect us all together. So we are all uniquely the same. And the common thread that we all have in our uniqueness in being the same are our needs. Now, these are not the basic needs that we all have of food, clothing, and shelter. We all need those things physically, but I'm talking about the needs that we strive to meet that motivate us. And so these needs, you'll see this where some people have a need to connect people. We have some people that they are driven, that they lead and they're in charge. So they act and behave a little differently. And if we stop and think about this, we're going to find that our personality, our needs of motivation will come through with our money. So we start from the inside out. And so congratulations. I want everyone to stop and think, you've just won the lottery. So, do you know that statistically speaking, most lottery winners are pretty much broke 5 years after they win that amazing money? And why is that? Because more money makes you more of who you are. So if you are a generous person and you suddenly get an influx of money, you're going to be very generous. You're just going to be more generous. If you are spend, you're going to have more money to spend. If you're a saver, you're going to save more money. So the more of what you are comes out with the more of what you have. We've heard today, what you think about comes to you. You attract it. And that's the same thing that happens with our money. But we want to change. And so if you really do want to change and truly change from the inside out, how do you do that? Because oftentimes we may have said, well, if it's just me, tell me what I'm doing and I'll change. And you may want to change, but you just don't know where to begin. So talk about some 6 needs of motivation, that how these interact in our lives, that you might find a way to change. So we're going to go on the journey, and I want you to just see how your life might fit into these, and I want you to pay attention to your behavior that you might have and where these needs are going to fit. So we have 6 that we're going to talk about. 4 of these needs are the needs of survival, is a way you might want to think about it. So the needs of survival that we all have, we're going to meet these needs in any way that we need, whether they're positive or negative, you know? And then we're going to talk about the needs of the soul and the Mac Daddy of the needs that will kind of encompass everything. But we need a balance. There's a yin and a yang of what goes on. So here we go. I bet you're really excited to figure out what you're going to do with your new $10 million. So we have needs, and there are polar opposites with these needs. The first need that we have is for certainty. So when I say certainty, we have a sense of comfort. And in life, we are going to see this maybe in a steady paycheck. We have a very stable relationship. We have a routine. There's predictability. We know that the phone bill is due, the certain day of the month. We know what to expect. But when we think about the behavior and where that comes from, we have positive and negative ways that we find certainty. So some people get a lot of certainty in working 40 hours a week. Other people, that might be boring to them. We will get the need for certainty met with the routine. So there are some people that really thrive because they have a daily schedule every single day. And their routine may be that they, get up and they do the same thing every day. They have a routine and they get their kids ready for school. You have your requirements that you have for your job or what you do in your Legal Shield business. It's very structured. There's certainty, you know what to expect. But then the negative aspect of that is some people smoke, and there's certainty in the feeling that you are going to get from smoking. It's very calming. And I think that I don't know anybody who would say that smoking, there's a positive aspect, there are health benefits to smoking. I think it's generally known that smoking is not real good for you, but yet there's certainty and comfort If there's too much overwhelm, this is where we're going to find procrastination. So that's our certainty, but then we also have variety or uncertainty. And so this is where you're going to see people express themselves in a little different way. There are some people that they may have a different hair color every time you see them. They like to try new places to eat. They may change jobs because they want some variety. So, negative ways that you're gonna get some uncertainty and variety. If you have folks that invoke a reaction, they are always constantly saying things that really kind of, get a reaction from people. So let's just take a real quick example. If you are someone who likes to try to eat at a new place every week, but then you have someone in your life that's very certainty driven, they're going to want to know what's that going to cost so that they can make sure that they have the funds for it. Or you have someone who they like to eat at the same restaurant every single time because they know the menu, they like the menu. Or they may want to go someplace, try a new place to eat. They're welcome to do that as long as they can get the meal that they want, because that's the meal that they always like. So just a real quick example there for you to get the dynamic that happens with those two. So we've got certainty, where we're going to get some comfort and stability. We know what's going on. We know that the floor that we're standing on is going to hold us up. That gives us some certainty. But eventually, we need some variety. We need some change. And of course, variety is the spice of life. So these are two of the needs of our survival. And now we move on to the need for significance. And here we want to know, everybody wants to know that they matter to someone. Everyone wants to know that they feel important, that they're wanted. And so a real good example of how we see this today is, how many people do you know that are so striving for the likes on social media? We want to get likes on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all of the other social media platforms, probably so many I don't even know all of them, but we get significance in so many ways. We can get significance. We can be the best at succeeding, or we can be the worst at succeeding. Both dynamics, we are going to be significant. We will express our significance in complaining. And we will express our significance by some people getting all up in your business. But the opposite of that is love connection. So they're kind of opposites of one another. So if you are driven by connection, if this is what really drives you, you're going to be very generous in your giving. You want to bring people together. Our very own Lin Schussler-Williams is the most connection-driven person that I know. She loves to bring people together, and it's her gift. It is truly a gift, and she's driven by that. And so she's very passionate and driven to connect people, to bring people together. And for those of us that are very wildly successful in Legal Shield, there's a bit of connection that's going on. And so you're going to think about your business a little different than maybe someone else who's very significant driven. So we have committees, people that are involved in all of the committees. Remember when we used to go to conventions and you would have the name badge, and then you would have the people that would have all of the other ribbons because they were on the 6 other committees? They're like probably the really connection folks that are in your life. But you can be so connection driven that it can be a detriment as well. My dad gets very connected to his animals, so much that he has to bring them to every family event, and it's kind of disruptive, but that's one of the ways that he gets his sense of connection. He gets that for himself. So we have the opposites here. We've had certainty and variety, kind of opposites, and now we have significance and we have love connection. So those 4 our basic survival needs of what we have. And we will strive to meet those needs in any way possible, whether they are in positive or negative ways. So think back to that $10 million that you've just won, and keep in mind that one way that you're thinking, this is awesome, and you know someone else, maybe they're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you would want to do that with the money. Maybe they're driven by something different. They're going to be motivated a little differently. And we're going to go on vacation so you can see a little bit of that behavior in play. So now I want to talk about two of the other needs that are kind of the Mac Daddy of the needs, that as you focus on these and see where these play out in your life, you might start to view things a little differently. So the first one is that we have the need for growth. And here in Legal Shield, we talk so much about growth, personal development, and you want to grow your team, you're growing your connection. We are constantly growing and evolving. You know, there's the saying that if we stop growing, we die. And so we're constantly developing. We develop from the inside out. That's kind of a common theme that we're hearing. So we're always developing from the inside out. We'll grow emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. And here you're going to find that these folks that are very growth driven in their life, you may hear them or see their approach that failing is learning. You want to change and grow and always find new ways to do things because it enhances who they are. And then the Mac Daddy of all of the needs would be our contribution. And this is where you make a difference. And the best person that I know of, that I can think of, that we all might know, is Mother Teresa. And Mother Teresa had a phenomenal job. She was driven by contribution. And so let's take a moment to look at how she contributed to meet all of her other needs. So first of all, this is where we're going to find gratitude and appreciation. You'll leave your mark on the world. And so Mother Teresa went out and helped the underprivileged and the underserved in those around her. So she had certainty knowing what she was going to do every day, but there was variety because she didn't always know the challenges that she was going to face. And maybe she faced a new challenge every day. But then she was significant because she was making a difference in the lives of those that she touched. But then she also connected, and she had pure love coming from what she did. And of course, she grew from all of these experiences. So in focusing on one need, she really did meet all of her other needs. And so it's amazing when you really start to focus and think about, how are these needs being met? And how can I make a difference? But here is a little bit of the inside scoop when it comes to these needs. So if you think about your behavior and how you work to meet your needs and the behaviors that you exhibit with, maybe it's yourself or with a partner, think of these on a scale of 1 to 10. And if your behavior meets a need on a scale of 1 to 10 at 5 or higher, you're going to become addicted to that behavior. And when you become addicted to that behavior, it's like you're being reinforced. And if you're being reinforced and your need is being met in either a positive or negative way, our brain really sees no need to change. We kind of become addicted to that. But on the flip side, if you have someone in your life that's helping you meet your needs in a way that's meaningful for you, you're going to become bonded to that person. You get this unbreakable connection. And when they are meeting your needs in a way that's meaningful for you, you in turn can't help but want to do the same thing for them. And the more you pay attention to these, you're going to see them all over the place. And it's a way to have that unbreakable bond. Because remember, in relationships, we have influence at best. We can't control anything, but we have influence at best. So we have talked about these needs of personality. These are what drive our motivation. The first 4 are for survival, and the other 2 dive into our soul. So let's take a moment, and we are going to see how going on a vacation with all of these different needs and personalities might play out just a little differently. So we are on vacation, and those that are certainty driven may want to plan some activities. They're going to want to know what things cost up front. They like to have a schedule. If there's too much variety going on, maybe the folks that they have taken on vacation, schedule, who cares? I just want to play it by ear. Those folks filled with certainty, they're certainly going to be frustrated. And all those folks wanted to do was take everyone on vacation and have a great time. But let's say someone's very significant driven and they would just want to feel appreciated because they've taken all of you on vacation with them. And if they don't feel appreciated, maybe they're going to start complaining. Or those that are very connection driven, they just want everyone to come together and they want everyone to have a wonderful time. And you know, they rented this lovely vacation house and there's not enough rooms for everyone to sleep in, but who cares? Let's 2-3 people to a bed because we're all gonna be together. But if it goes awry for them, maybe they might feel that they've been taken advantage of, taken for granted. And you know, I told you about my dad, who's very connection driven. When I was younger, we went to a lake house and the people next door on vacation, the motor on their boat went out and he spent a fair amount of time helping them get their motor taken care of on their boat. So he's there on vacation with us, but he's helping the neighbor. And that's because that's what he was driven to do. And he actually even paid for some of their parts. So it really does infiltrate with our behavior and how we spend our money and how we think about things in life and how we continue to move and evolve with what we're doing with our money. Now, those that are growth oriented, they may want to spend their time thinking, gosh, what can we learn from this trip? How can we make it better? And for those of us that maybe might be certainty driven, it's like, no, we just need to stick to a schedule. I need to know what's happening. So we have this dichotomy that's going on, and it's this push-pull. And when we are not aware of what is going on within ourselves, it can come out in a way that maybe we don't intend. And we're left wondering, what in the world just happened? I wanted to take everyone on a wonderful vacation. I've just won $10 million. And how did it turn out this way? And so it can very quickly kind of fade away. Or it could very easily be phenomenal. And it just depends on how attuned you are to yourself and where you want to go and how do you want to grow and develop. So we've talked a little bit about this, and maybe this is the first time that you're hearing this, or maybe you know about this. But where do you go from here? How do you start to become aware of this and where it's happening in your life? Questions. I absolutely love questions to help kind of look underneath the hood, become aware of where you're going and how things are evolving for you so that you really can change from the inside out. Because, you know, anytime that you sincerely want to make a change in your life, if you really want to make a change, if you want to make a change to have better health, if you want to have a better mindset, You've got to raise your standards. And if you don't raise your standards, if you don't find a different way to approach, we're going to go back to what we know is familiar because it's a habit and we need to develop new habits. So one of my favorite ways to approach anything is get curious. And I love these list of questions because it helps me focus on what am I doing? What's going on within me? And I also like to think about from the other person's perspective. And I went through, I do this work on myself every single day. And I just moved and I'm putting things away in my new pantry and I'm seeing all of this stuff that I have. And it took me back to a journey of where I came from and how I got to the point where I like to keep extra things on hand. And I did that because my grandmother opened her closet and showed me what she always had on hand. And I thought, oh, that's pretty awesome. It was exhilarating for me because I had never seen anything like that. And I must have been about 12 or 13. But also at that time in my life, I was very blessed to grow up with two environments. In one environment, money was not free flowing, but it didn't appear to be a struggle. The needs were met, the physical needs of food, clothing, shelter, and I didn't really see it as a struggle. At the same time, I was in another household and electricity was being cut off from time to time. Water was being cut off from time to time. And there were times when there wasn't food. And I can tell you, government cheese is not the tastiest thing in the world. So at that same time, I had all of that going on. And it was like, you know what? It's good to be prepared. And I never really stopped to reevaluate that. And as I was putting things away, and in my bathroom, I have all of these bottles of contact solution. And while it's good to have a couple on hand, I didn't need all the bottles of contact solution. And as I started thinking of the money that I had spent on that, it's like, wow, I maybe could have not spent that money on that and still have been prepared. So that's just one quick example of what this type of work can do for you as you get curious and think about your needs. So why do you want to do this? Why should I think about this and find a new approach, a different way to do things? Well, because you never know what's just around the corner. You want to find a way to develop the skills you need now so that when the time comes, when that surprise, when suddenly you get everything you wanted, you have the skills and you've practiced and you've visualized and you know what it is you need to do because then you don't have to think about it. Our emotions that we have in life, they drive us, they propel us, but they should not run the show. And too often, money is so emotional that we get caught up in the moment. It's just one more payment. It's 3 easy payments of this. It's, well, can I afford this? And so when you suddenly get that influx of money, when you suddenly get everything that you need, when that someday comes, you want to be able to know with certainty, without thought, because you have the habit, that you are going to achieve what it is that you set out to achieve. And I like to think that our life, your life, my life, is a gold medal event in the Olympics of you. We all know that Olympic athletes, they strive for years. They work for years until that shining moment comes along. And when they've worked and they've done the shining moment, after that moment, it's a moment that they've reached that gold medal. But then it's after. What happens after? When you look from the inside and you start to find a way that you know what is propelling you, that you're driven in a way that takes you to that vision board that you just created, you know where you're going. Your purpose is taking there because your purpose has changed. I like to think that we all want to make an informed decision. We have to own our actions in life. And so when you find a way to respond and not react, that's when you get success. So I hope that you have a little bit more to think about now. I hope that you find that there's a different way to look at things and to really dive in and take a look underneath the hood and find ways to spend from within. Thank you so much.
Oh, Michelle, wonderful. Let's all, yes, turn on your cameras and give Michelle some love. What a great, great, thought-provoking talk, Michelle, and I'm so excited. I heard this talk recently, and I learned so much more today. So one of the things that really struck me was Michelle was talking about change from the inside out. Haven't we been talking about that since last night? On different levels, in different topics, we've been talking about change from within. We've been talking about making conscious decisions about our health, about how much water we drink, about what we eat. We've been talking about making conscious decisions to grow and get better, to make contributions. And, I think the evolution of who we are when we come to events like this can be just exponential growth. And this has just been no exception, Michelle. I loved what you said about so often money is connected to our emotions, and our emotions get expressed by these needs that Michelle just described, but our emotions shouldn't run the show. Oh my gosh, that was such a huge kind of aha moment for me when you said that. I think back to all the times when I've made decisions about money, and what I would do is think about how it made me feel, right? How did I feel about making that decision? And so emotions shouldn't run the show when it comes to money. I just love that. And of course, informed decisions, responding, not reacting, asking questions. You know how much questions are a big deal. I just think this was an amazing, amazing talk, Michelle. Thank you for this great opportunity to hear this, to connect with the personality of our money and how we're relating to money through who we are, and that we can choose how much of an influence that's going to be and what needs we're going to get met. I just love that. And so now I also get the opportunity to introduce another great speaker, a woman who she's not new to Summer Blast. As a matter of fact, I believe she helped out with the Summer Blast 10 years ago. And we know each other because we have a mutual important person in our lives. And so I'm excited for you to hear from Katy Almstrom, because Katy, like Michelle, is somebody who really uses her money in a different way, who thinks and helps other people learn to think about their money differently, use their money differently, create budgets. She's a certified financial coach. She has a great background. She's became debt-free early in her 20s. She's just a remarkable woman, and I'm so excited for us to hear from her today, because I know that at the end of this afternoon, we are all going to be so much better prepared to deal with the wealth and the prosperity that is coming our way because of this great company that we're all involved in. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you to Katy Almstrom.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Katy. We hear you great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for having me. Yes, I'm Katy Almstrom. I am coming to you from beautiful northern New Hampshire. And like Michelle mentioned, right, I'm literally at the lake house right now with 4 kids, 5 and under, a puppy, and 4 adults, and it's literally like a mess of beds, a mess of food, and we're all being very flexible. So I was laughing when she was talking about that. Luckily, we're all just super flexible right now. So there is a puppy, there is a baby sleeping, and hopefully I can get through the 30 minutes without disrupting too much here. But that's one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur. So I'm the one entrepreneur of the adults. Everyone else is having their meetings, and so I kind of ended up with the kids and the puppy, and I'm like, wait, this isn't the lake house entrepreneur life, but it really has been amazing. So we went on a boat ride yesterday, saw a couple of bald eagles. I had a beautiful evening kayak. Kids are making s'mores, driving themselves a little crazy, staying up a little late, but all in all, we're having an awesome time. So the objective for me for the next 20-25 minutes is to share some philosophies that have made a huge impact on me as an entrepreneur and just on this journey, and also to equip you with a practical way to plan your money. Even when you do have irregular income, okay? So a little bit of a backstory. I entered this entrepreneurship world about 30 years ago. Well, I should say I was introduced to it. I was very involved in my dad's businesses and ventures from an early age. And I really formally entered the world 2.5 years ago when I left my teaching career to start my financial coaching business. And that's when I truly discovered the joys and frustrations of irregular income and the hills and the valleys, the roller coaster ride that we're all on. And I did. I witnessed this growing up through my dad, but I have a much greater appreciation for it now, I should say. And most of my clients are entrepreneurs, they're small business owners, they have a regular income. So this is something I've really worked to develop regularly with clients. And I'm excited to share with you what I've learned there. So I want to start with some philosophy that was introduced to me back in those early days when I was introduced to entrepreneurship. And I should say, for those of you who don't know, John Drennan is my dad. So I don't know if that was said or introduced, but I grew up with everything that John Drennan has been doing for the last 30 plus years. I was literally by his side. I've been on stage with him. I have been in the back row, handing out the tickets at every single event. So from the time, I don't know, he came home from a Tony Robbins event, all fired up, maybe in 92, 93, and like hasn't looked back. So that is where I'm coming from. And I remember so clearly sitting in the back seat of Dad's car, listening to Jim Rohn. And I can remember I could hardly stand to listen to his voice on the scratchy recording of his live seminars on cassette tape. I can just like hear him now, talking about the three, the major, points of communication, or the 5 abilities. And I can just hear that. And it's amazing how you sort of remember something differently when you're younger than now. Because I kept listening through college, early in my career, during my 20s as a teacher, again, with more intention and focus when I started my own business. One of my husband's favorite sayings is, what would Jim Rohn say to me, right? And so he's been a mentor who's really stood the test of time for me. And every time I listen to him, I hear new messages for the first time. His voice is calming. It actually really centers me now and reminds me of everything that I've learned and how it's compounded and what really matters in my life today. Because it's he's one of the people, one of those messages I always go back to. So he's very comforting. And there are 2 lessons in particular that really resonate with me and that serve as filters that I run a lot of what I do with money through before I teach my clients, before I share workshops, and before I actually operate with any sort of new habits or disciplines. Okay, so speaking of disciplines, that's number 1. Jim Rohn is well known for talking about the daily disciplines and how daily disciplines can compound over time, how a lack of discipline can compound over time, right? And so two of his proteges, Darren Hardy and Jeff Olson, have written books, The Compound Effect and The Slight Edge, respectively. And James Clear, another recent expert in the idea of habits and good habit building, also talks about this idea of how do we systematize good actions, right? How do we build them up bit by bit so that they have these really atomic results, right? And so this idea of daily disciplines compounding over time, they are easy to do, Jim says, right? And they are easy not to do. So we all have these goals, right? We all have the same goals basically, but we need to really look at the quality of our systems. We really need to look at the quality of how we are incorporating habits and actions and disciplines into our life so that they are easier, okay? I've got two small kids. Everybody has been home for the last 5 months of this extended spring break we're all on, and my life has got to be easier, right? So I'll get to that in a minute, but you know, this idea of how do we have daily disciplines that will compound over time is something that I think is crucial to the idea of how do we operate when it comes to our money. Secondly, Jim teaches on the seasons of life, and I think the seasons of business. So we have the summers that go into the harvest period of life. There is abundance. There is sunshine. You can forget to put your shoes on and it doesn't matter. You know, we are lighter. We are happier. The sun is out. We have, you know, more vitamin D coursing through our bodies. Everything is just a little bit easier, right? The summers of life, literally. And when I think about the summers of business, this is when we have a good month. This is when those daily disciplines are starting to compound and reward us. And so we have these abundant times in our business, and it's exciting, right? It's the summer of business. But like Jim warned, right, we have to also be very careful about the winters. We have to prepare for the winters. The winters are going to, you know, go into these springs of rebirth, and right, we go through the hard cold winter, and then we go through these seasons of rebirth, and everything is coming, you know, up again. And the winter can be hard and it can be cold. It can be really fun. A lot of people sort of like the downtime, the quiet time, the coziness inside, but not if we're not prepared for it. And so we have these seasons of life, we have these seasons of business. And so when I say the winter, right, I mean these sort of harder times during our life and in our business that we need to be prepared for and that we need to respect, because they will happen. It's not an issue of they might or maybe they won't, but they will. And so this idea of that we have seasons that we need to respect, we need to revere. What do those look like, and what does it mean for us to be prepared for these different seasons in life? How do we enjoy the summers, but how do we use that time of abundance to prepare for the winters? How do we get through the winters, but how do we also use that time to sort of reflect and look at what we're doing and really focus on, is this a priority? Are we really being careful? Have we prepared well for this winter? Do we need to think a little bit differently about the next summer, the next burst, the next bit of abundance? And how do we make sure that we are really plugging in with our own summers and winters and really getting a sense of the feeling of the flow of money in our lives and how our business is going in our lives? Okay, I spent a little bit more time on that than I wanted to, but like I said, Jim Rohn, I mean, I could talk about him all day. So my personal mode of operating, you know, I run things through those filters, but I've really decided that, and my brand is the simplified budget, especially right now with 2 young kids. I have to simplify as much as possible. I have to systematize as much as possible. So think about this example. This used to be my reality. When I was working full-time as a teacher, I was on campus, my kids were in daycare, my husband was at work. It would be 10 a.m., right? And I would be probably preparing for a class. I would be knee deep in emails, and I'd think about dinner, what's for dinner, right? I have no idea what's in the fridge. No idea if I've taken any meat out to defrost, you know, from the freezer. And I just kind of have that first thought. I have that first round of decision making, but there's no real decision that's made because I don't really know the answer. And then fast forward to lunchtime. And it's like, crap, I still don't know what's for dinner, right? Maybe I brought some leftovers in with me because I knew I wouldn't have time to run to the dining hall. Like there's what we should have had for dinner, right? Poor planning. Should have gone to the dining hall. Why did I bring all the leftovers? This could have been our dinner. I still don't know what's for dinner. Can't call my husband. He won't have any idea. I wish I had like a camera in the fridge, you know, decisions, like thinking about this, the weight of it, the stress of it. You know, and then I forget about it. I go teach a class, I go get the kids, whatever. On the way home, shoot, I meant to stop. I meant to grab something, you know, easy, like some broccoli, some chicken, whatever, just at the store on the way home. I still don't know what's for dinner. You know, I'm frustrated. This has caused more stress today than it needed to. This happens a lot. Like, I just want to know what's for dinner. And it doesn't happen as much anymore, right? I started to put some systems into place. Even if I don't know anymore what's for dinner, I have a backup plan. I know that there's always stuff for grilled cheese and soup. I know that there's always a frozen pizza. I know that there's always peanut butter and jelly. And I know that there's always money in a restaurant budget to grab takeout. But here's the reality of that even. Sometimes we count on takeout too much. And then we never enjoy it. And we're guilty every time we get it. Or we have peanut butter and jelly 3 times during the week, and that same guilt, you know, flares up because we don't think our kids are getting enough veggies. And so how do we balance the two, right? So how do we have a plan where we know what's for dinner and have a backup that, you know, when the plan isn't executable, we have this backup plan and it's okay, right? So meal planning is a really easy option. Right? We say, here's what we're going to eat for the next 2 weeks. These are what we're, you know, why can't we just have the same thing for dinner every night? We have the same thing for breakfast every day. I don't know why I have to meal plan dinner. I wish we could just have the same thing every single day, but for whatever reason, that's just not a thing, right? But for the next 2 weeks, what are we going to have for dinner? It's so easy to do. It's easy to say, family, what do we want to eat? Make the list, go get it. And, you know, set an alarm every morning, take chicken out of fridge or freezer. I mean, you know, put something in the crock pot. Just, there's ways to put systems into place where we have what we need and we make the decision one time. We don't have to second guess. We don't have to rack our brain. We don't have to go through all of these steps over and over and over again. Okay, so it's easy to do. It's easy to put all of those safeguards into place, to fill the cupboards up, to, you know, have stuff in the freezer, but it's easier not to do. Okay, it's just as easy, if not easier, not to do. So let's talk about our money. We all make it through the month somehow or other, more or less, right? Maybe you lean on credit cards like I lean on peanut butter and jelly sometimes. Or maybe things are okay and you get through every single month with whatever income you have, but your stress level is through the roof because you are constantly checking your balance. You are constantly trying to make decisions. You are constantly not sure what the plan is, or maybe you are reinventing it as the month goes on because you don't have something to fall back on. You don't have something to start the month that you have as a plan that you can operate from. Okay, so that's what I want to introduce today is how do we start the month? How do we have a plan? How can we have sort of this, you know, the meal plan, if you will, for our money, which many of you know is the word budget, right? I say a plan for your money and a budget, right? The two are interchangeable. Some people bristle a little bit at that word budget. And, you know, it really is just a plan for your money. You can have a really exciting budget. You can have a huge budget for something. And that feels fun, right? If I told you you've got a huge budget for eating out next month, that sounds like fun, right? So it's all about how it's framed. It's really just a plan. And so sure, there are going to be unknowns with our money like there is with everything, but you can decide one time, you can decide before the month happens that you know what you're going to do with your money. You can have something to adjust. And, you know, our plan for our money is a living, breathing thing. So we're not all clairvoyant. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we're going to stuff the freezer and the cupboards with the backups, the go-tos, right? The food for the winter. And we're going to put these safeguards into place so that we are ready for whatever the month brings to us. Okay, so as a reminder, these are the 3 filters I'm running this all through, and then we're going to actually look at the framework for how I budget every single month. So there are daily disciplines that will compound. This stuff, what I'm inviting you to do here, does take work. You don't just set it and forget it, okay? So there are daily disciplines. There are monthly disciplines, there are weekly disciplines, there are, you know, a whole host of ways that we need to communicate with our spouse if you have a spouse in your household with you, right? There are ways that we need to think about, am I becoming the kind of person who doesn't use debt? There's a lot of activity that goes with this, but there are some simple daily disciplines that we can take as far as the plan goes. Second, there are seasons in business, and we need to pay attention to those, and we need to have respect for those. And then lastly, I want to make less decisions by starting the month with a jumping off point, okay? I want to simplify, and I want to start with something, right, so that I'm not making decisions throughout the month and rechanging, right, redeciding and switching up the plan, starting from zero, starting from nothing. I want to start with something that feels concrete that I can then modify, right, if I need to. Okay, so here's the framework for budgeting that I operate from and teach every single day. And I've got a handout that some of you probably have, and I'll share it on the screen when I get to that point. We start every single month with a zero-based plan for the new month. Today's August 21st. It's time to plan September. Okay, so that means a zero-based plan for September means we have a job for every single dollar coming in. So I saw a couple of comments come in, right? Lynn mentioned I'm a Dave Ramsey certified coach. I used his plan when I was in my mid-20s to pay off a lot of debt. And, you know, student loans, some, you know, I had my stupid 20s credit cards, or actually from college too, and LASIK eye surgery. Okay, so I use this plan to take care of all that. And the zero-based budget is a plan that he teaches, a type of budgeting that he teaches. Okay, so this is what I use. And so that zero-based budget, it means we have a job for every single dollar of our income. So as entrepreneurs, we don't necessarily know what our income is going to be for the month. However, if you are stewarding your money well, and if you're being careful with, right, these daily disciplines, we should have a number that we can count on. If you're starting your business from zero and there's no income, you probably have some other source of income, whether it's a job, a part-time job, maybe someone else in your household has some income, right? So what does the household have that we can count on? And let's say it's $3,000, right? If your household income is $3,000 that we can count on for September, then you're assigning a job to every single one of those $3,000. Now, jobs could be, some of this money is going to a savings account. Some of this money is going to be set aside because we're buying snow tires. I live in New Hampshire, right? So snow tires is always on our mind this time of year. In a couple of months, we need new tires. And so we're going to set some money aside for that. It's being named though. We're giving it a job. Maybe we're setting some money aside for Christmas. Maybe we're setting some money aside for our, you know, kids going back to school tuition payment in a couple of months. Or it's simply groceries, our mortgage payment, fuel for our car, our internet, right? What are the things that need our resources every single month? And so we start with what we know is coming in, and we assign a job to those dollars. Now, with this first sort of round of income, what we can count on, what is maybe the smallest amount that we would have, we're going to cover the necessities, right? So if this is sort of a lower month, we definitely need to prioritize what jobs are taken care of first, right? What dollars are going into what buckets first? we're going to buy food first. We're going to pay our rent first. We're going to keep the lights on and get to, if we need to travel for our source of income, we're going to travel there. You need internet, right? What needs to be taken care of first? And let's not confuse things that we want when we are stewarding our money early on in the month before any more income is coming in. Let's not confuse things that we want and use those resources early before we take care of what needs to be taken care of. And that's some of the daily discipline, is making those good choices. Okay, so we prioritize what we will take care of in September. What are the necessities for my household, for my family, for our health, and for our safety? What needs to be cared for in September? What do we want to cash flow and leave behind in September? Meaning we don't want to drag a new set of snow tires on payments through the winter, right? What do we want to leave behind? What do we just want to take care of and never even really have to think about again? Okay, so we plan every single dollar for those dollars that we can count on. Now, here's where things get exciting or confusing or frustrating. A lot of times we have a good month, which means business is growing, right? We're being, like I said earlier, rewarded for our disciplines, or even better, right? We're stepping out of our comfort zone. And so we are seeing the reward of that. We're seeing the fruits of that. When you are in entrepreneurship, when you are doing this sort of new exciting thing, it's a lot of stepping out of our comfort zone. And when we're rewarded with income, with revenue for that, it is exciting. And we're in the summer season, and we feel like we should be up leveling, right, in our business. We should be investing in new things. We should be, riding this wave and trying to keep the momentum going. And maybe sometimes that is the right option. But maybe sometimes we need to remember that winter is coming, that we are still young in entrepreneurship, that stewarding our money well and what is going to create more abundance is doing well with the little bit that we are getting early on. Okay, so what goals do you have for an emergency savings if you don't have something in place right now that feels good? What will make the winters easier? And thinking about that. All right, so here's the process that I use, and I'm going to pull up the worksheet now and share it. Oops, we're Zoom. All right, share screen. Okay, so this is the worksheet that was shared with you all. So you have a separate budget form. If you're doing this on paper, I love pencil and paper. There is an app that I recommend that Rancy Solutions has put out. It's called Every Dollar, and that's a great place to do a fixed income budget. I don't think it's really wonderful for irregular income, but you can start with that fixed income budget. So if we know $3,000 can be counted on, let's budget that in Every Dollar, and then we have this worksheet to supplement that. So what you do, where you start is you start with that Every Dollar budget. You start with that zero-based budget. We're going to take the $3,000 we can count on. We're going to make a plan for every single one of those dollars, starting with the priorities, making sure that we're taking care of business first. Now, once that's all accounted for, what didn't make the cut, right? And this is an opportunity, and I'm by no means an expert on this, but I know a lot of people, are really into manifesting and attracting, right? And so I really do believe in writing down your goals. So this is a great way to you can go crazy here, just writing out all the things that didn't make the budget yet that you want to spend money on, that you want to have resources for. And so as far as attracting and manifesting goes, I think this is just a great activity to list out, what do we want resources for? What do we want to attract into our life this month? What do we want to manifest this month? So you're going to start by listing anything that didn't make it into your zero-based budget. So for example, it might be a trip to Costco because some things are running low. We don't need to go. We could wait till October, but we want to, it's going to go on the list. It's something we want to take care of. So you might put Costco under items. Maybe kids need some textbooks Again, it's not really a necessity for another month or two, but it's something that we want to get on the list. So we put textbooks in there. Animals need to go to the vet. Typically we take them in November, but it would be great to sort of get it over with now because November is going to be a crazy month. And so we put, you know, a vet bill, whatever it is. Like I'm trying to think of things that aren't going to be necessities because hopefully those are already budgeted for. But maybe you do want to go shopping for something for the home, or maybe there's a project you're working on that you want to put some money aside for. Maybe you want to build up a sinking fund for Christmas. Maybe you want to put more money in your restaurant fund for the month, or maybe there's nothing in there right now and you'd like to add it in. So depending on sort of where our baseline is for the month, any of those things can get listed out here, right? And we're going to give each item a dollar amount. So if Costco is going to be, well, can you do Costco under $100? Anybody? I can't. Costco, $100, $150, whatever it is. Textbooks, $75. I don't remember the examples I said, but you know, vet, $265. So what are you budgeting for that may or may not happen? And what is that number that we want or that we need, with the resources that we need for that line item? And then you can add up all of those numbers, right? So whatever Costco is, 150 plus whatever we say for textbooks, plus whatever we say for the vet, right? We're just gonna add it up and have a running total here along the side. As more income comes in, right, throughout September, above and beyond that $3,000 mark, and hopefully it does, right? Hopefully we're starting with that baseline. We're starting with, this is what we can count on consistently. Most months we're going to do better than this. And so as that money comes in, and you can kind of do what makes sense to you here, but you put that number up here, and then you can see what on this list can we cross out? Do we have resources for? Are we going to be able to spend money on or put the money away in savings? So that's what this worksheet is for. And you can print out as many as you like and make them as long as you like. Over time, as entrepreneurs, that baseline, right, that sort of low month should rise and rise and rise. But we want to be thoughtful even as it's still in this low spot, right? We want to allow it to grow, and we want to take care of what is coming in and be thoughtful with the summers, right? Be thoughtful with the big, exciting months so that they are consistent, right? If we have a big, exciting month and we just sort of go crazy and then we're not prepared for the next low month, it's going to hurt our motivation. It's going to, I mean, if there's anything about entrepreneurship, it is that it's all a mental, emotional roller coaster. And so when you have a strong month and you don't steward it well, and the next difficult month comes and you're not prepared for it, the strong months are going to be harder to come by. And so we have to allow the daily discipline to, you know, we have to act as if it's not an up and down. We have to find some consistency in entrepreneurship. We have to find some consistency and some reliability. And we have to convince ourselves, we have to sort of pile up the evidence that we can be consistent, because entrepreneurship at the end of the day, like, it is work, and we do have to be disciplined more than people who have a regular 9-to-5, because they can show up and have a not so good day and still make money. But we have to show up and be disciplined, and really do the right things every single day to gain that momentum. And so with our money, my gosh, if we can be consistent there, and if we can become the kinds of people who are really stewarding it well, so that we know that, right, when the months are high or low, we're going to have that much more traction and that much more momentum. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my notes and stop sharing. But I think that's about it, you guys. I just want to close with a charge to you. my grandfather passed over a year ago, and I inherited all of his Warren Buffett books. He was a big Warren Buffett fan. And so I've been reading Warren Buffett's autobiographies. And this quote actually isn't from Warren Buffett, but it's from his business partner and friend, Charlie Munger. I think it's pronounced Munger. But he said, take a simple idea and take it seriously. And I think that just sums up everything, right? The daily disciplines, the seasons of life, simplifying, like none of it is hard. It's not hard, but you have to take it seriously because it's simple. You have to take it seriously because it's not hard, because we take for granted the fact that these things feel easy and they feel light, and we read it and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's so obvious. But you have to take it seriously and you have to do it or it's not going to work for you. All right. So thank you so much. Enjoy the roller coaster ride that you are on. And I'm just so thrilled that I was able to speak with you guys. So thank you. I don't know if we're doing questions or anything. Lynn, I guess I'll just turn it back over to you.
I think we're going to Matt Miller next.
No, Dani's got it. She's got it.
I'm on it. Hi, guys. Dani Goedan, Greeley, Colorado. For those of you that don't know me, thank you, Katy. Those were some amazing comments. I really love everything you said. The daily disciplines, you know, we can all use that not only just in our budgets, but in our businesses, as you all know. You know, what do we have? We have our 10 core commitments, right? So those are part of our daily disciplines and weekly and monthly disciplines, sometimes yearly disciplines. So that's really awesome how we can definitely put that into use for not only our budgets, but our businesses. And I love it. And wow, what an amazing second day so far, right? This has been wonderful. What some great information that we have received. I think I have about 6 pages of notes already, guys. So it's wonderful. You know, Rhonda was going over the number 12 appearing everywhere. And I was just like, I started thinking about it and I was like, wow, yeah, 12 is in a lot of places. And Teresa talking about being deliberately healthy and that our health is being hijacked by big pharma and media and different things like that. It's just very eye-opening. And I love how she was talking about, you know, what causes our immune system to deplete versus what helps us build it up. And we don't talk enough about building our immune system all the time. You hear about it, everybody just going, you know, to get their vaccines or whatever it is. That was really eye-opening. And I kind of wanted to share that I had actually been doing a lot of research and reading and things the last couple of months before the summer blast. And it's going really hand in hand together because I was noticing I was implementing a lot of this stuff already in my own business in the last few months. And my business has exploded. As most of you know, I went from director for the last 3 years to senior director in just 6 days almost. And that was really incredible. And so I'm going to share that, you know, take this information that you've been getting and implement it into your businesses, implement it into your life, and start the focusing. You know, attitude really does trump all. And I truly believe that. Michelle was just, you know, talking about the human needs and motivation, those 4 needs of survival, the certainty and the varying certainty, the significance and the love and connection. That was really, really powerful. And then, you know, growth and contribution. That's definitely something that's very important to not only your business, but your life, your money, your finances. I loved that she said, life doesn't come from a manual, it comes from results. And that is true. You know, I feel like for the longest time, I was reading my notes as a manual for Legal Shield, for my business, for all of that. And then all of a sudden I was like, stop doing that. Actually go out and do stuff. And I saw the results. My focus got me results. And that was was just super powerful. And then Katy was, talking about simplifying your budget, the daily disciplines, the plan for your money. Those were just amazing, amazing points. So I hope that you guys have been enjoying this as much as I have and been taking as many notes as I have. I mean, my hand is cramped. So with that, I know that Miss Alice Engelhart has some more raffles for us. So I'm going to go out to Alice in the Virgin Islands and let her raffle off some more stuff. Alice.
All right, this is like my favorite time. I feel like the Energizer Bunny Rabbit of raffles. So I'm going to show you what we're going to raffle first. So just give me a second here. And we are going to do Michelle Seifert. She has a 30-minute coaching session plus human motivational needs analysis. So I'm going to dip into my little bag here. And here's my little bag. You can see it. Okay, here I go. All right. Okay, we've got one here. And Kathleen Ramsey, congratulations. Woo! Kathleen, you will go put your current email. I will pick that up and I will send you a certificate and how to get a hold of Michelle. All right, so the next one is a great coaching from the lovely and fabulous Katy that we just heard from. And there it is. You can see 30-minute. Oh, well, hold on one second. I always hit the wrong button. My fault. I got to make sure I'm staring at this very carefully. Okay, here we go. Ah, okay, hold on. I figured out how to do it. All right, here we go. No! Oh. All right, hold on one more time. One more time. I will fix this. Don't worry. Don't worry. Eventually, all things succumb to my application. All right, here we go. There we are. Yay! So this ticket will be, we'll have the winner for the 30-minute coaching session with Katy Almstrom. So hold on one second. You can see me. I've got my bucket here. Cute with a bow. Here I am. I'm going in it. And William Meggie, M-E-G-G-E, William, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but Meggie, M-E-G-G-E. And if you wouldn't mind going to, again, the chat room, and I will put, if you can put your current email address in there, I will pick it up and get your certificate to you. All right, back to you, Dani.
Awesome. Thank you. And congratulations, William and Kathleen. That is super awesome. I look forward to hearing about your coaching sessions in the future. Now I'm going to head back out to our leader of success partners, Mr. John Drennan. And he's going to just share some information with us about what's coming up over the next couple of hours. Mr. Drennan, it's all yours.
Well, thanks so much, Dani, and what a great job you just did. And I want to take a minute and just, many of you know Dani's story because we highlighted it in the month of July, but many of you don't know. And I think this is a great story for everyone. In June, Dani let me know she was pretty frustrated mid to late part of the month of June. And then with 6 days left in the month, made the decision to achieve senior director. And she was a long ways from it, about 500 points away. And for those of you who are not Legal Shield associates, bear with me, but 500 points in 6 days is a mountain. And especially when she didn't have a lot of team, but she had some people that helped inspire that vision for her. And she went to work and ended up the month about 100 points short. But as a result of what she did, she had one of her best income, if not best income day ever. And based on the number of points she brought in, about 400 in really the last 3 days, she contacted Legal Shield and they granted keeping her in Performance Club, even though she fell out in June, which was part of her frustration. So in July, they allowed her to stay with it. And that momentum carried into July, where she hit senior director. I won't say it was easy, but I mean, she got there without a last minute struggle. And that was because of the momentum, but more importantly, her mindset, her disciplines, and the fact she went to work. She made a decision. So Dani, that earned you the right to be on here, you know, out of all the people that are contributing, and just a great job by you. We picked up some extra time here. We got ahead of schedule. So in a minute, we got a surprise for you. But I want to go back and comment on Michelle kicking it off in the 6 human needs. I've done that analysis before, and it's really powerful to know what's kind of guiding you, because if your primary need is variety and uncertainty, and you're married to someone whose primary human need is certainty, you can see where there can be challenge unless you understand each other from that framework. And then you can really work together on, okay, let's fulfill the one spouse's need for security with planning, budgeting, et cetera. But then let's have this spontaneous area for the person who's driven by variety and so on. So that needs analysis that Kathleen Ramsey, you're going to be able to do with that coaching session with Michelle is really special. Also, I love that the questions, being curious and asking the questions to kind of explore why are we doing what we're doing. So Michelle, I appreciate you and what you did there. And Katy, who I know is not with us right now, if you saw, she put in her chat, have fun, guys. She's going to go keep her 3-year-old from drowning or out of the lake or whatever. Well, that 3-year-old is the sister of a 5-year-old, and those 2 children are what brought Lin and me to New Hampshire. And yes, that 3-year-old, when there's water around, you better keep your eyes open because she's in it. She wants to be in it. And so, but Katy, great job. And, you know, I tried to observe not as dad, but as, you know, business person, non-biased, and that didn't work. I'm totally biased. But appreciate the value. And she did talk about her journey with Jim Rohn. And in fact, when she was in college one summer, we had a car that needed to be taken to Montana. So she and I did a road trip from Michigan to Montana and listened to the entire Jim Rohn collection. I believe it was the one called the Weekend Seminar. And it was 12, I think it was cassette tapes at that point, not CDs, either one. It was 12 of them. And so you need a road trip like to Montana from Michigan, not from Michigan to, you know, Ohio, to hear it all. And we listened to the entire thing. And I didn't know she was going to make those Jim Rohn comments, but since she did, I got thinking, you know, most of the people on here know who Jim Rohn is, have listened to him a lot. Maybe some of you a little, maybe some of you don't know his name. So we're going to go ahead and play a Jim Rohn clip. It's about 5 minutes, and you can never listen to too much of Jim Rohn. So with that, if we've got that clip queued up, let's go ahead. It's just under 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and watch it.
This one we've heard since we were small, I'm sure. It's called the law of sowing and reaping. In fact, we've probably heard it so often we could quote it. It says, whatever you sow, what? You shall reap. Fairly blunt, hopefully clear. Here's my first suggestion on the law of sowing and reaping. Don't try to beat it. You might as well try sitting on the sun in the morning. Keep it from coming up. You'll have better luck. Whatever you sow, you reap. Now, for a fair share of my life, I'm a bit mixed up on how all this applies. Among a lot of things I was mixed up on. I knew I wasn't reaping too good. That I understood. My problem was I was confused about what was causing it. Remember me with the funny list? I thought those are the reasons why it isn't working out well. And then Mr. Schoaf gave me the clue that helped me figure it all out. He said, Mr. Rohn, I have another answer for you. There's another way to quote this law that'll show you where the problem is so you can go to work on it right away. All you need to know is where the problem is, then you can go to work on it. So he quoted me the law another way, and I found out what my problem was. Here's the way you quote the law. Whatever you reap is what you've sown. Now I knew what my problem was. Whatever you reap is what you've sown. If you don't like the crop, who do you look up? Answer, whoever planted it. And where do you find who planted your crop? Answer, in the mirror. What I finally learned to do come fall was to go to the mirror. That's where you go. And if necessary, you say, a few skinny carrots? I got to be unimpressed. Where were you last spring? Asleep? Didn't you read the books? Did you break your hoe? Let me give you 7 key points to the law of sowing and reaping. Let's tick right down through the list of 7, and it'll be break time. 7 points to sowing and reaping. Here's part of the philosophy that really helped me to make some changes in life direction. Number 1, the law of sowing and reaping is negative. That's number 1, which simply means if you sow bad, you reap bad. Now this is kind of 3rd grade, but it doesn't hurt to go over the basics. If you plant thistle seeds, you don't get pumpkins. Honest, no use looking for pumpkins. John says, how come no pumpkins? Come on, John. The law's negative. That's how come. Now here's number 2. The law's positive. Which simply means if you sow good, you reap good. If you plant pumpkin seeds, you don't get thistles. Not from pumpkin seeds. Mother Nature won't pull tricks on you over in the corner snickering and push new thistles and you planting pumpkin seeds. She won't do that. You will get pumpkins from pumpkin seeds, and the reason is because the law is positive. Now here's number 3. I got excited when I found out the full dimension of this. See, you do not reap what you sow, but rather you always reap much more than what you sow. So the 3rd key word is more. You don't get back what you put out. You get back much more than what you put out. And it works both positive and negative. On the negative side, it said, if you sow to the wind, you reap the whirlwind. So you've got to get ready for that, or you will be naive.
Okay, well, that went off, and I think you'll all need to go to YouTube and put in Jim Rohn Sowing and Reaping. There are different versions of that to catch the last 2 and watch the rest of that. But the one thing, I'm watching him with a chalkboard. Now, in my early days as a high school teacher, I had a chalkboard. And some of you younger, millennials might think, what is that? But the chalkboard. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, wisdom and the secrets of success don't change. He was teaching that to people in, what do you call them? Dress from the 70s and chalkboard, but the magic doesn't change. And that's why what Jim Rohn has to say will last for decades and decades. So that was Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. So here's what's happening next. We are going to take a recess of about 30 minutes. We will keep the room open with music and maybe some slideshows. We will return at 4 o'clock, and $50,000 ring earner, Mr. Carlos Bird's going to get us started. And we are going to have a presentation by another Jim Rohn fan and somebody I'm so excited to hear from, and that's Mr. Frank Acoin. So take these 30 minutes, do what you want and need to do, and we start at 4 o'clock Eastern Time sharp. See you then.